Imagine, imagine you are swimming in the crystal blue turquoise waters of the Mediterranean Sea. Actually, to be more precise, the Ionian Sea, which is off the coast of southern Italy. Imagine you're on vacation. It's August, it's a hot summer day, and you dive into that sea. And as you're swimming around, you notice reaching up from out of the sand a hand, what looks like a human hand. What is at the bottom of the Mediterranean? Stay tuned to hear more about the Riace warriors. I'm Dr. Megan Lorraine Debin, and I'm an art historian, and this is Art Trippin Lecture Series. Hi, I'm Dr. Megan Lorraine Debin, and this is Art Trippin. What are the Riace warriors, also referred to as the Riace Bronzes? These two bronze sculptures were discovered by an Italian man who was on vacation in southern Italy in 1972. Stefano Mariottini was swimming off of the coast of modern-day Reggio, Calabria, where he found at the bottom of the sea these two ancient Greek bronze sculptures. I've seen interviews with him where he recounts this story where he's swimming and diving and he sees this hand reaching up out of the sand, and then he keeps going back down 8 meters deep, so it's quite deep. He's diving down and slowly brushing away the sand, and he starts to uncover a human torso, the rest of the arm. Quickly, people come to properly remove these statues from the seafloor. These two statues are bronze 5th century Greek sculptures. The Riace bronzes are currently housed in the National Archaeological Museum of Reggio, Calabria, and they were discovered off the coast of Riace Marina in southern Italy. Imagine Italy is like the boot, right? And in the heel of the boot, you have Puglia, and on the toe of the boot, this is Reggio Calabria. Riace Marina is on the bottom of that boot, of the toe of the boot that's kicking the ball of Sicily, facing out to the Ionian Sea, which connects to the larger Mediterranean. So we are sort of at a point between Greece and Sicily and the rest of southern Italy. So probably these statues were on a ship that was coming from ancient Greece to what we now call Italy. At the time, it was probably referred to as Etruria, the rest of Italy. And the southern part of modern day Italy was actually controlled by the Greeks at the time. So there was probably a ship that was coming across. This ship sunk, or items from this ship never survived. So these two statues are two bronze human figures, male figures, perhaps warriors. We don't know actually if they are humans or gods, deities, but they are in very fit shape, very athletic, strong bodies, really extraordinarily beautiful, very detailed sculptures with a very powerful sense of presence. And they are bronze, which is rare for us to find. Now, in ancient Greece, they were constantly producing bronze sculptures, but many of those do not survive into modernity because that bronze was often melted down and used for weapons or other reasons when they had the necessity for that. So a lot of bronze sculptures from ancient Greece actually don't survive into the modern period. In fact, what we have a lot more of are Roman marble copies of original Greek bronze sculptures. So this is a bronze sculpture done in the lost wax casting technique. So they are sort of making the sculpture out of wax, making a mold, and then pouring that hot liquid bronze into the mold to create this sculpture. So this is a typical sculpture casting technique in ancient Greece, and it's still practiced today by artists all over the world. When these were pulled out of the sea, they traveled to Reggio Calabria, then they went up to Florence, Firenze, and they were eventually brought back to Reggio Calabria, where they are now housed. Both locations, both in Florence and in Reggio Calabria, they underwent some really delicate restoration work, and the statues are now housed in the Archaeological Museum in Reggio Calabria so that they are made accessible to all. And this is really a point of pride in the region, that these kinds of objects often end up in places like Rome, in some of the big museums. So it's a really great reason to go visit Reggio Calabria, not just for the friendly people, the beautiful beaches, but also for these really magnificent treasures of ancient art history. The statues themselves are nearly 2 meters tall, and they portray two nude, powerful figures, originally equipped with weapons and accessories, but these are now lost. But the hand positioning indicates that they might have been holding a spear or some other kind of weapon or artifact. They are completely sculpted in bronze. However, the eyes are inlaid with calcite and glass. So this really adds to the naturalism. And furthermore, there are some other details, including the lips and the nipples, that are done in copper and silver. So this really lends them with an extraordinary realism. Their bodies are sculpted with remarkable skill. They convey a sense of strength, balance, and power, and they're perfectly sculpted bodies. You can see every detail of the human anatomy, their abs, their calf muscles, just really impressive sculpting technique. Now, it remains uncertain whether these represent athletes or soldiers or even heroes from mythology, or perhaps even deities. We just truly don't know who is depicted here, but we can tell based on the method of casting and the style that they are of Greek origin, probably from about the 5th century BCE. So the style is often referred to as the severe style, or you might see it referred to as the early classical style. So this is the moment where ancient Greek artists are transitioning from the archaic style. So when we think of the archaic style, think of Kouros figure standing kind of frozen, stiff in a very frontal position. And we're transitioning to a classical style where we see a more idealized, more naturalistic representation. We see the introduction of contrapposto, where the weight is shifted from one leg to the next. This is all adding to the realism of the sculptures. There's actually not a complete consensus on this. Many scholars think they are from the early to mid 5th century, so probably created sometime around 460 to 420 BCE, which would really position them in that early classical moment. Some other scholars, including B.S. Ridgway, present a dissenting view, and they argue that these statues are actually much later, probably dating to about 100 BCE, which would land us in the Hellenistic period. And this art historian argues that in the Hellenistic period, there was a moment where artists were looking back to the early classical style and imitating that 300-year-old style in the year about 100 BCE. Either way, scholars definitely agree that stylistically, these look like an early classical style, whether they were actually produced in the early classical or a later Hellenistic kind of throwback to the early classical. We start to have that interest in movement and realism, no more stiff, frozen bodies. Now we have bodies in movement and in motion. So now, who are these? As I mentioned, we don't know if they're actual warriors or deities or what, but there is some speculation. Some art historians believe that the two statues represent Titius, this is statue A, and Ampharius, statue B. These are two warriors from the tragic play, 7 Against Thebes, and this is about the fall of King Oedipus. And so these might have been part of a kind of monumental sculptural composition with multiple figures. And there is a Greek traveler and writer who's often cited in connection to this conjecture. So here is the quote from this Greek writer, Pausanias. A little farther on is a sanctuary of the seasons. On coming back from here, you see statues of the son of Oedipus and all of the chieftains who were with him, killed in battle at the wall of Thebes. So this is sort of where they're getting this idea that these might be these figures from an ancient Greek play. On the bottom of the statues, on the bottom of their feet, there are lead dowels that are installed. So this implies that they were originally mounted on a base and installed as part of some sculptural group with other figures. And the art historian Carol Matusz argues that not only were these statues found at the bottom of the Reggio Calabrian coastline together, but that they were originally installed and even perhaps produced together in antiquity. So these two cutie pies have been together for thousands of years. Can you imagine being on vacation and discovering two ancient Greek statues? Lord, I see what you have done for others. I am ready for my blessing. This is my dream come true. I would love to find some ancient statues while I am swimming in the Italian Sea. If you like this video, let me know in the comments. Let me know if you would like to discover some ancient statues while you're swimming on vacation. Please remember to like, subscribe, and stay tuned for more Art Trippin', the lecture series. As always, I'm Dr. Megan Lorraine Debin, and this has been Art Trippin'.